Hey, Joe Gilder here from Home Studio Corner. Today I'm going to give you 7 of my best recording tips because let's face it, just like Mama always said, nothing happens till something gets recorded. Okay, my mom didn't say that, but I'm sure some mom somewhere has said that. If not, go tell your mom to maybe say that. I've been recording for a lot of years, starting with that little stick mic that came with my parents' old PC hunched over in the living room, making crappy music, to today where I get to play with a bunch of fun toys. So here they are, 7 of my best recording tips. Tip number 1, don't clip ever. My friend Ronan Chris Murphy talks about how you can make lots of mistakes in a recording session, including there's a mic in front of Jimi Hendrix's amp, but you accidentally recorded the mic across the room on the drum kit. And so you captured a really great performance, but it was the wrong microphone. That's fine-ish, as long as you don't clip the signal. If it clips, it's game over. That performance is now lost. You've gone too hot, and the red light goes off, and a lot of times that causes a clipping sound that you don't want in the recording and you really can't remove or fix. This is especially true today when we're recording on digital systems. There is no benefit to recording with the level right up here as high as it'll go and recording down here at something more sane. Yes, if you're using a nice tube preamp, sometimes it's nice to drive it a little bit harder, but the actual going into your audio interface, going into the analog to digital converter, there is no reason to make that as loud as possible. And there's 2 reasons for that. 1, you don't want to clip, because if you clip, you've got to record it again because it clipped and it sounds bad. 2, having really loud tracks hurts you later when you go to mix anyway. You're going to have to turn them all down. So why not turn it all down now while you're recording? Tip number 2, this is a great one. Listen back to what you just recorded. It's really easy to be in the zone. You got your headphones on, you got your guitar on, you're listening, you say, oh, that sounds great. You play. Then you come back a few days later and listen back and you realize, oh no, that doesn't sound like I thought it sounded. Why does that happen? Couple of reasons. 1, while you're playing, you're hearing the guitar itself acoustically. You're hearing it in the room coming into your ears. Even though you've got headphones on, you're still hearing the guitar, especially if it's electric guitar. Number 2, headphones tend to not be as accurate, especially headphones used for recording. Closed headphones tend to not be as accurate as your speakers. And 3rd, while you are performing, it's just difficult to really critically listen to anything because you're focused on playing the right part. That's why I highly recommend, at least at the beginning of the session, that you play whatever you're recording and then stop, put the instrument down, turn your speakers on, and listen back to what you recorded, just to make sure it really does sound like you want it to sound. You'd be surprised how many times the headphones are telling you one thing, the speakers are telling you something else, and you'll be glad you took that extra 5 minutes to make sure the recording sounds like you want it to sound before moving forward and recording all day. Tip number 3, get fast at punching in and punching out. In other words, become familiar with how your recording software handles the normal functions of a recording session. Yes, it's easy to start from the beginning and hit record, that's one thing, but what if the musician wants to punch in a few lines throughout the song? Yeah, that second verse wasn't great, can I punch in starting at the second phrase? Well, if you're kind of don't know which buttons do that, or if you're not sure how to set that up and you make the musician wait, you're going to kill the moment. Now, that's a small thing, but it can be an actual thing in a session. I've been on the other side of the microphone where someone else is engineering and they've been super slow. All I wanted to do was just get right back into it and sing it again while it's fresh in my brain and while my voice is warm. But it takes them several minutes to kind of find the spot and delete the thing and spend some time when it's just you in your studio learning how to do things quickly. If that means learning keyboard shortcuts, that can be really helpful. Things like, okay, I just recorded the vocal, can I go back and record a harmony on top of that? You should be able to say, yep, 1 second, go. That's kind of how it should be. And then the singer is right there in the groove and singing. But if you're saying, yeah, 1 second, okay, menu, new track, we'll call this harmony vocal. Okay, let's set the input to input number 4. Set the output to here. Okay, can you hear that? That just takes too long. Now, is that going to be a big deal to everyone? No, but to me, one of the things that I really want to do well as the engineer in a session when other musicians are there is to keep them in the zone, keep them making music, keep them comfortable. If they're sitting there waiting for me to click through all the menus to do a very simple task. It's just awkward. So on your own time, find ways to make yourself faster at these processes. Learn how to do punching in and punching out. Learn how to set it up where it automatically punches in and out. Sometimes that's helpful. Learn how to set pre-roll. So you can say, we're gonna start recording here, but you're gonna hear 2 bars before, and then it'll start recording. Things like that can speed up your sessions dramatically, and you'll probably end up getting better results too. Number 4, and this is a bit of a controversial one, record to a click. When I say click, I mean some sort of a set metronome. Usually it sounds like. Nobody loves playing to a click in the sense that it feels constraining, but probably 90 to 95% of the songs that I record are recorded to a set tempo. There are some situations where that doesn't make sense, but more often than not, the music is helped by having a set tempo by recording to a click. Here's a story. I've played music in churches for years, and at one church we were at, they hired a new music director. He comes in and brings with him a Dr. Beat machine for us to play to on stage during the services. So before that, we just played. We had in-ear monitors, but we didn't play to any sort of a click. Somebody would count in and we would go. And that's fine. He brings a click. So now we're all listening to the same metronome and the same beat. Some folks were super comfortable with it because we're in Nashville and we're all in studios recording. Not all of us, but you get it. And then some people were super not comfortable with it and had a really hard time. The end result, however, was the band sounded tighter when we were on a click. There wasn't all the speeding up and slowing down where nobody's together. There was a cohesive, we may all be playing different instruments in different parts, and we may all be at different levels skill-wise, but there's one constant, this steady, annoying beat that we are all trying to play along to. And it's way better than trying to keep up with, okay, the drummer's speeding up every time on those fills. Okay, that guitar player speeds up when he plays the intro. It really does help bring some cohesiveness. And the side benefit of recording to a click is you can take something you did, let's say there are 3 choruses in the song, and you come up with a really cool background vocal part, and you record it on chorus 1. If you record it to a click, you can just copy and paste that over to chorus 2 and chorus 3. If you didn't, you're not going to be able to do that because more than likely chorus 2 and chorus 3 are going to be at a different tempo slightly. Either they're going to be a little faster or a little slower, and anything you copy to another section isn't going to fit as well. Secondly, recording to a click allows you to record multiple takes and then to pick and choose from each one. So if the drummer nails the first half of take 1 and then nails the second half on take 2, you can piece those together because they were all recorded to the same tempo. Otherwise, if you're recording without a click, then the whole take has to be what you want it to be. There's really no way to go back in and to kind of comp together different takes because they're all going to be at slightly different tempos. Tip number 5 relates to tip number 4. Take the time to find the right tempo for the song. It's really tempting to get in and say, okay, does that tempo sound good? Yeah, let's go. 1, 2, 3. And then you find out later that was too fast or that was too slow. One of the best ways to do this, have the singer present, if it's not you, and then have them sing the chorus over whatever tempo you have. Sometimes it sounds right for the intro, then you get to the chorus and the singer realizes that's too fast, I can't sing all the words in that amount of time. Or that's too slow, it's really hard for me to hold those notes out that long when we play it at such a slow tempo. It might take a few extra minutes, but it's worth it because you're gonna live with this song for the foreseeable future. I mean, really forever once it's released, so you want to make sure it's at the right tempo before you throw a bunch of work at it. Tip number 6, give yourself permission to re-record something. On my EP that I just finished, I had a whole day dedicated to recording vocals. And I even did a bunch of that on a live stream where I was literally streaming live one night, recording a bunch of vocals. And I felt really good and felt really confident that I had done a good job. Came back the next day and listened back and realized that most of the vocals were just okay. They weren't great. The vocal tone wasn't great. The pitch wasn't great. It just didn't feel right to me. So what did I do? Did I try to rescue those vocals to use a bunch of EQ and compression and Melodyne to make them sound a little bit better? No, I knew I'm still going to use compression and Melodyne, but first I want a better raw recording. So on most of the songs, I sat down, I literally sat right there, and re-recorded the vocals on almost every song. And there were 5 songs. And it was absolutely worth it. Did it put me behind schedule? Yes. Did it take up a bunch of time? Yes. Was it annoying? Absolutely. Was it a little embarrassing that I had sung all those things in a live stream and then realized they weren't that great? Yep, sure was. But it was worth it because I'm going to live with these songs for the rest of my life. And I'd rather not say, man, I wish I'd gone back and re-recorded those vocals. That's going to happen. Now, there's an element of, I listened to the final version of that EP, and there are parts where I'm saying, I wish I'd sung that better. And that's just gonna happen. That's always gonna happen. You're gonna hear things that you wish were better. That doesn't mean you should always keep re-recording until everything is perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. However, if there are bigger picture things like that entire vocal take I can do better, then yeah, go re-record that. It's worth the extra time and effort to get it right. And finally, tip number 7, engage in perfect practice. You know the old saying, practice makes perfect. And it's kind of true, unless you're practicing the wrong stuff. If you have bad technique when it comes to recording, and you keep repeating that process over and over and over, and you don't fix the bad technique, you're probably not gonna get much better result. I'm as guilty as anyone for saying, get out there and make music, and the more music you make, the better it's gonna sound. And there is a lot of truth there, but if you're not making it in the right way, or if you're constantly making the same mistakes over and over and over again, and you don't fix those, then your music's gonna stall, it's gonna plateau, it's not gonna improve very much. That's why guided practice is really the key. What do I mean by guided practice? I mean, watch how someone else works, learn from someone else, steal ideas and advice and tips from other people like myself, and then incorporate those into your practice so that you are really improving as you're putting in the reps. You can take one of my courses on like Intro to Recording, which there's a link down below, that'll walk you through a lot of the core concepts of how to get a good recording every time. Then the next time you record, you're gonna be all that much better prepared to get a great recording. Now, selling courses is how I make my living. I make these videos on YouTube, and if you want to watch them forever for free and never spend a dime with me, that's completely fine. However, if sometimes you sit there and think, man, if I could just sit down with Joe Gilder for a day and just have him teach me some of the stuff about recording and mixing and whatever, my music would improve so dramatically. Well, you can have that. That's what I've done in these courses. It's literally like this. You and I are sitting down and we're going through, whether it's recording or mixing or production or mastering, any of the things that we do in the studio. That's why I created those courses, so you and I get as close to you and me actually sitting down in a room as possible. So anyway, there's a link down below to my Intro to Recording course. If that's interesting to you, go check it out. Otherwise, if you'd like something else for free, see, I got you back with the free stuff, check out my recording cheat sheet. It takes some of the ideas that we talked about in this video and expands on them and gives you a bunch of just hacks that you can use on your next recording session to get noticeably better recordings. Recordings that would make your spouse turn their head and say, hey, that sounds really good. To check that out, go to recordingcheatsheet.com. That's it for me. I've finished all my notes. Later.